I'm going to show you how to take a full track and strip it down to its basic rhythm. You're probably adding a bunch of competing rhythms to your tracks without even realizing it, and it's going to subconsciously confuse people when they listen to your stuff on Spotify. If you have a track that has a clean rhythm like this, all of that can be stripped down to this rhythm. I'm going to show you how to do this with your own track so you can make sure your groove is working. So let's start by talking about how using pre-made drum loops like this one, they can kind of ruin the rhythm of your entire track and make everything sound messy and confusing. So if we start with this bass line as a reference, we can represent the rhythm of the bass line by using a random percussion sound that lines up with all these notes. So the bass line rhythm can be simplified down to this. And you can analyze the rhythm of anything in your track this way. Let's do it with this drum loop. So if we match every hit with a corresponding MIDI note, this is what we end up with. So this is the rhythm that represents that drum loop. And using that, I can compare it with the rhythm of our bass line from before to see how they line up. But let's say we add in an extra drum loop here. Here's the rhythm for that loop. Then let's say we wanted to add a shaker loop. Here's the rhythm for that. So now sonically, this is what we have. But if we look at it rhythmically, we started with the rhythm of the bass line, then we added in the first drum loop, then the second drum loop, and then the shaker loop. So here's what we have in terms of rhythm. That's pretty bad. You can hear how all these loops have competing rhythms and different swings and are all overlapping with each other. And this is just a couple loops with the bass line. Think about a full track. You're going to have drum loops, bass line, background synths, lead synths. How many competing rhythms are you adding to your track without even noticing? Even though the actual track doesn't sound like that, all those competing rhythms are there, and it's going to make it hard to get into the groove and get a listener to bounce their head up and down and get into your track. If you remember from the beginning, this is the actual groove of the final track. This groove is a lot more cohesive, it just makes sense. So let's talk about how to get from this jumbled mess to this final result. All the drums in this track are from my new Soundpack Pro House Drums. It comes with over 300 samples, a full drum arrangement and mixing course, and also a drum mixing reference pack. So it's got everything you need to produce professional level drum beats. And for the next 30 days, if you add Pro House Drums to your cart, you can add any other pack from my website and get it for free. Try it for yourself at bigzsounds.com. And if you're not interested, I don't want to waste your time. Let's get back to fixing this groove. So to make a good rhythm, you got to start with the main rhythmic element of your track and then build everything else around that. So in this track, it's the bass line. So if we want this bass line to groove, we want to add some swing to it first. So I've selected swing B, which just means all the offbeat 16th notes get moved slightly off the grid just to add a little bounce. But you guys already know that, and it doesn't matter how much swing you add, it's different for every song, but the important part is to know the level of swing on your main rhythmic element so you can match up everything else in your track to that. So next I'll add in this little percussion part. And I'll just make sure it has the same level of swing as the bass line, and you could humanize it a little more than that, but I want the rhythm of this track to be really tight. Now if we look at the rhythm of the bass line and then add in that percussion, you can see some of the notes are going to line up perfectly, and then those extra notes are going to add to the overall rhythm of the track. So you got to be aware that these notes are adding rhythm to the main rhythmic element. If we consolidate them by just moving them down, you can see this is our new rhythm. So let's keep adding to that, but not overcomplicating the rhythm. So next I'll add in these cowbells, and then I'll add in this organ hit after that so the rhythms can play off each other. So rhythmically, they're making up a little fill. So now if we start with the bass line rhythm and then add in the percussion rhythm, then the cowbell rhythm, and then the organ rhythm, this is what we get. And since the swing of the overlapping layers work together, we can consolidate that into this. And I'm only focusing on sounds that add groove, sounds like kicks, claps, and hi-hats. Those are just part of the basic 4 on the floor beat, so I'm not paying attention to the rhythm of those. That's going to be like the backbone of the whole track. You want to pay attention to the elements between those notes that are actually adding groove. And notice how I didn't add that many layers to get this groove. You got to keep it simple. When you start adding a ton of different layers with competing rhythms and different swings, that's when it gets messy. To be clear, you can keep adding percussion layers and even some drum loops to this, but you would only want to add sounds that overlap with this main rhythm so it doesn't get too complicated. So now here's what everything in the whole track sounds like together.
It's so easy to
Thanks for watching. Peace.